In the 40th year of my marriage to Zhuang Dongliang, I suddenly passed away from overwork. Over those 40 years, I took care of my paralyzed mother-in-law for 35 years and raised my son to adulthood. My last wish before dying was to be buried with my parents. However, the next day, my body was donated for free to the research institute where Zhuang Dongliang's first love worked. Two elderly people in their 50s passionately kissed each other over my withered, naked corpse. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have missed so many years. However, she raised our children all these years and now supports your research, so she has somewhat made amends for her mistakes. Alas, the youth we lost can never return. Their youth was the very essence of my life. My soul wandered the heavens, my heart utterly broken. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day the matchmaker came to call. The young Zhuang Dongliang wore a stern expression. As you wish, you will bring your dowry too. Fund my studies and care for my mother. I'll marry you. It's settled. Hemiao. Once you're married, you must dutifully serve your mother-in-law and take good care of Zhuang Dongliang. After all, Zhuang Dongliang is the only high school graduate in our village. He's bound to be the only university student too. Comradely Hemiao, a heavy responsibility rests on your shoulders. Beaming with joy, the matchmaker tightly clasped my hand and Zhuang Dongliang's together. In that clasp, his resistance felt unmistakably real. But, didn't I die? In a panic, I looked around. Reflected in the glass window, amidst the crowd of curious villagers, was a young face. It was me. At 19 years old, I had actually gone back to the day I got engaged to Zhuang Dongliang. You're uneducated, we're not on the same level and have nothing in common. Frankly, you're not good enough for me. The only reason I'm letting you into this family is because you seem honest. I have classes in the county town. After we're married, you'll stay home and look after my mother. She's given all her ration coupons to me, so your food rations will go to her first. The faces of Zhuang Dongliang from my past and present life overlapped, his cruel words still ringing in my ears. I jerked my hand back as if shocked by electricity. Who said I'd marry you? The matchmaker was startled by my sudden pull back, and chided me. Oh my, the bride is shy now. The whole house and courtyard of villagers burst into laughter, teasing me all at once. You used to run to the Zhuang family all the time, so why are you shy now that you're about to marry into them? Exactly, this is a new era. No one will laugh at you for choosing your own partner. He's the only educated man in our whole village, and you managed to get him. Hemiao, you're one lucky girl. In my past life, I fell into the water and was saved by Zhuang Dongliang. Deeply grateful for his life-saving grace, I did everything I could to repay him. I would get the pastries from the state-run store, the ones I couldn't bear to eat myself, packet by packet to Zhuang's mother. I used the fabric ration coupons I got to make new clothes for Zhuang Dongliang. While I wore patched, coarse cloth, Madame Zhuang saw that I was efficient at work, had a good temper, and was an orphan with a dowry of my own. She wanted me to marry Zhuang Dongliang as a form of repayment. Good child. My son Zhuang Dongliang caught a cold and fever saving you. He even missed several days of classes. Besides, everyone knows you were saved by my son Zhuang Dongliang. Mouth to mouth. If you don't marry Dongliang, no one else will marry you. Staying at home as an old maid would make your parents uneasy, even in the afterlife. With a mix of coaxing and intimidation, I stumbled into the Zhuang family's grasp before I even understood what marriage truly was. After 40 years of toiling like a beast of burden, all I reaped was betrayal and mockery. Since fate has granted me another chance, I will not make the same mistakes again. My mother says you should pack your things and come with me today. I have to go to school and don't have time for a wedding banquet. Just as in my past life, Zhuang Dongliang showed no patience, hastily calling on the villagers to help move the dowry. When my parents were alive, they were hardworking and diligent, leaving behind a considerable family fortune later. Relying on my dowry, the impoverished Zhuang Dongliang was able to finish high school, get into university, and upon graduation, secure a position in a government office where his career took off. With everyone bustling about to help carry the belongings. In my past life, I muddled my way into the Zhuang family like that. There wasn't even a wedding, let alone a single celebratory character in sight. I always thought Zhuang Dongliang was just a man devoid of romance. But in the second month after my death, he threw a lavish, spectacular wedding to marry son Yuling, personally designing every detail of the ceremony and even shedding tears multiple times at the event. In the old days, marriage was just about finding someone to get by with. It was a tasteless affair no matter who you ended up with. It wasn't until I married Yuling today that I finally understood what it means to find happiness, even if it came late, in this lifetime. I will never stand in the way of his happiness again. Seeing that everyone was about to start moving the belongings, I hurriedly spoke up to stop them. Stop, put it all down. The crowd looked at me in confusion, Zhuang Dongliang even more impatient. Enough, Li Hemiao, aren't you just trying to carry them out one by one to show everyone how much dowry you have? We're all working people. You're just living off your parents' hard-earned money. What's there to show off? As if I married you for your dowry. Let me tell you, if you hadn't hounded me and my mother, I'd never have married an illiterate like you. The brand new army green trousers Zhuang Dongliang had his hands stuffed into were made by me. I spent a fortune on the fabric and stayed up all night sewing them by lamplight. It was the same in my past life, using my things and then cursing me out. If there's one thing I've gained from living this life over, it's 40 years of experience being made a fool of. I'm no longer that timidly Hemiao from my past life. Seeing Zhuang Dongliang's chin held high, I also lifted my head and crossed my arms. You won't marry me. Well, I won't marry you either, too. As my words hung in the air, everyone froze in place. After all, in my past life, I truly spent all my time at the Zhuang family's home, with Mrs. Zhuang's gossipy embellishments. The whole village knew I was relentlessly pursuing and had latched onto Zhuang Dongliang, while matchmakers for girls my age wore out the thresholds. I was left untouched because I was spoken for. Now, I firmly pressed down the chair that had been lifted and cleared my throat. Comrade Zhuang Dongliang, I used to help your family because I was grateful that you saved me. Later, your mother said your family was so poor that you couldn't afford tuition, and she asked me to use my dowry to support your education. I reluctantly agreed out of gratitude, but now that you think I'm not good enough for you and you don't value my dowry, that's fine. I don't need to cling to your high status either. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. And we'll leave each other in peace. I spoke loudly and clearly, ignoring Zhuang Dongliang's dark expression as I clasped my hands in greeting to everyone. I'm sorry, folks, for today's wasted effort. I, Li Hemiao, feel bad about it. I'll go buy meat and cook now. Come over tonight to eat, as a celebration of my new beginning. If there are any hard-working men who don't rely on others, please keep me in mind, aunties and grannies. I deliberately emphasized the words, not asking others for help, and shot a glare at Zhuang Dongliang. I was always a free-spirited person by nature. It was only through Zhuang Dongliang's repeated put-downs in my past life that I became timid and insecure, but now I'm determined to pull myself out of this mire. In this lifetime, Zhuang Dongliang can forget about spouting his nonsense in front of me. While everyone was still waiting to see what Zhuang Dongliang would do, I had already swiftly shown him the door. To my surprise, Zhuang Dongliang flew into a rage. Li Hemiao, what kind of game are you playing? How could you possibly not want to marry me? I curled my lip at him. What makes you such a catch? You're as skinny as a baby chick. Zhuang Dongliang hasn't reached a high position yet. He's just a weak scholar supported by others. Amidst the laughter, Zhuang Dongliang's face turned red. Li Hemiao, what are you pretending to be noble for? You even gave me your kidney for me. The words stopped abruptly, but I was shocked in my heart. In my previous life, when Zhuang Dongliang was diagnosed with kidney disease, the technology for kidney transplants was not yet mature. However, after I successfully matched, I didn't hesitate to donate my kidney to him. After the surgery, I neglected my own health and took care of Zhuang Dongliang day and night at his bedside. Due to the loss of a kidney and constant overwork, I developed a chronic illness. How does he know about this now? A bold guess surged in my heart as I noticed the sudden evasive look in his eyes. Zhuang Dongliang might have been reborn too. This made me clench my fists in frustration. He still wanted to drag me into the mire. What are you talking about? I pretended not to hear. So, you're going back on your big talk. You want to marry me now? Zhuang Dongliang stared at me, his face once again full of arrogance. Humph, so that's the game you're playing. A feigned advance to cover your retreat. You're desperate to marry me but don't want the reputation of throwing yourself at me, so you try to provoke me like this. I can't believe you'd stoop to this. Li Hemiao, I can tell you right now, there's no way I'm bowing down. If you're going to marry me, you'd better submit early, or else once you step out that door, even if you kneel and kowtow to me. Zhuang Dongliang didn't finish his words before I chased him out of the yard with a broom. What kind of dirty thing is this? Bad luck. Zhuang Dongliang left, grinding his teeth in anger. Fine, Li Hemiao. You made this choice yourself. Just you wait until I'm rich and successful, with a beauty by my side. You'll be so full of regret you won't even know how to cry properly. That evening, I hosted a feast at my home with 8 tables to properly thank the folks from my village. My parents passed away early and didn't leave me any siblings, so I've always had to rely on the help of my fellow villagers for matters big and small. My close girlfriends at the table tried to talk some sense into me. Meow, sure, Dong Liang has a bit of a temper, but he's one of the few promising young men from all the villages around here. He might actually get into university and make something of himself. Don't let a moment of stubborn pride lead you down the wrong path. You've made your scene and vented your anger. If it comes to it, we'll go with you to apologize to Auntie Zhuang. I heard there's a promising young woman at Zhuang Dongliang School. It was the same in my past life. I gave the Zhuang family the best years of my life, yet in the end, everyone just said I was lucky to have made the right choice. The wine tasted more bitter on my tongue. I'd rather stay single my whole life than ever marry Zhuang Dongliang. I took a swig of liquor and swore to myself, this life, I'm living for me. Just as the feast was in full swing, the door was flung open with a crash. An orphan girl like her has no manners. How dare you start the banquet without me? 3. Zhuang's mother entered with the same commanding presence as in her previous life. She immediately took charge, engaging in small talk with everyone. Today is a great day for the Zhuang family. Please enjoy yourselves. If there's not enough wine or food, just ask someone to bring more. Our Zhuang family is well educated and places great emphasis on etiquette. It's my fault for bringing an ill-mannered daughter-in-law into the Zhuang family. I'm afraid I've embarrassed everyone. Zhuang's father was originally the accountant of the brigade. He died of alcohol poisoning while stealing wine in the granary, but Zhuang's mother claimed he died a martyr's death. One always twists the truth with their words. Calling me at the top of your lungs right now. Hey meow, I gave you money to host everyone. Why did you start eating without calling me when the feast was ready? Once you're part of the Zhuang family, you're not a child anymore. If you're this greedy, people will laugh at you, whispering sweet nothings in my ear. I used to think you were a sensible girl. How did you end up acting like this? Since it's your first offense, I won't hold it against you. Come back with me and apologize to Dong Liang. Kneel down and serve me tea, and I'll still consider you my daughter-in-law. Otherwise, watch out. I'll make sure you never get married in your life. Seeing me not moving, he slapped me hard on the back. Are you deaf when your elders are speaking? Get up this instant. How dare the bride sit down before all the guests have finished eating? As she spoke, she snatched the wine cup from my hand. My son is studying to become a high official someday. Alcohol ruins the mind, so he cannot drink. I'll drink this one on behalf of the Zhuang family. Please forgive our poor hospitality. We haven't been good hosts. This turn of events left everyone stunned. So it was Aunt Zhuang who paid, and Meow who did the work. Why didn't the child say so earlier? After that scene this morning, I really thought Meow wasn't going to get married. Turns out she just wanted to look good for herself. Meow. That was wrong of you. Hurry up and offer your mother-in-law a seat. In my past life, when I married into the Zhuang family, we didn't even hold a wedding banquet, yet Mother Zhuang went around collecting congratulatory money from everyone. The next day, Zhuang Dongliang left early to return to school in the county town. I was left alone to run around, using my own dowry to prepare a feast of thanks. When the meal was served, Mother Zhuang, with just a few words, took all the credit for herself. The men were given cigarettes, and the women and children had their pockets stuffed with melon seeds and candy. The whole village sang the praises of Zhuang Dongliang. I hosted the banquet myself to uphold the Zhuang family's reputation, yet Mother Zhuang begrudged the expense and blamed me for taking matters into my own hands and wasting money. Then, under the pretext of thanking people for their gifts, she made me kneel at the doorway to kowtow to everyone coming and going, not even allowing me to eat. A virtuous man's knees are worth gold. It's a wife's duty to kneel for her husband. Obeying your mother-in-law and respecting your husband is the law of heaven, the rule of our village. The next day, my knees were swollen like 2 red sugar buns, yet I still had to work in the fields and manage the household. All my dowry was taken under the pretext of safekeeping by my mother-in-law, and even when I was pregnant and wanted an egg, she scolded me for being greedy. Old grudges and new hatreds. What makes me wish I could tear her to pieces is that in a past life, she was the one who killed my child in her middle age. Mother Zhuang was particularly fierce-tempered and had a fiery disposition. In the 5th year of my marriage to Zhuang Dongliang, she suffered a cerebral hemorrhage and remained bedridden, paralyzed, for over 30 years. Later, as Zhuang Dongliang's career soared, he thought me useless on several occasions and wanted to divorce me. It was Mother Zhuang who insisted on keeping me in the family. It was me who brought Meow into this house. you've been busy with work, and all these years, it's been Hemiao who's been with me. As long as I'm alive, you'll never get Hemiao out of this house. Back then, I thought Madame Zhuang was tough on the outside but soft at heart. For over 30 years, I took care of her, even cleaning up after her, until her final days. But on her deathbed, she sent me away and held Zhuang Dongliang and Sun Yuling's hands. I'm sorry, my children, I insisted that Dongliang marry Li Hemiao, but I had no choice. If it weren't for Li Hemiao's dowry, how could we have afforded to send all of you to university? Later, it was also my fault for being weak and bedridden. I couldn't bear to see you suffer, which is why Li Hemiao held the position of Zhuang's daughter-in-law for 40 years, for the sake of me swapping my own grandson with Li Hemiao's daughter. Please forgive me, I returned with the chicken soup just in time to see Zhuang's mother take the son I had raised by the hand and tell him to call Sun Yuling mother. It was then I realized the child she had taken from me at birth should have been a daughter. My poor daughter, who had only been in this world for a single day, was taken by her own grandmother and left in the back hills to be devoured by wolves. I rushed in to confront Zhuang's mother, but she had already drawn her last breath. I'm calling the police, Zhuang Dongliang slapped me across the face. Li Hemiao, you drove my mother to her death, and now you're playing the victim. My body was already frail, and with the shock and rage, I collapsed to the ground and never got back up. Seeing your enemy makes your blood boil. Yet, Mrs. Zhuang still tried to pull rank as my mother-in-law in front of me. I snatched the wine cup back and smashed it on the ground. Auntie Zhuang must be starving with no rice to cook. She's come here talking nonsense out of hunger. I am not her Zhuang family's daughter-in-law anymore. For Auntie Zhuang, who doesn't know you're a loving mother, you even gave your own food coupons to Zhuang Dongliang. Now where can you find more food coupons to prepare the feast? After my reminder, the villagers finally realized that Aunt Zhuang was seeking vanity, telling everyone herself how difficult it was for a widow to raise a child. What does it matter if an old woman like me eats or not? But I can't let my son, the pillar of the nation, go hungry. I exposed Madame Zhuang's lies, sneering, if you're craving some meat and want to come over for a bite, just tell me, no one will laugh at you. This was the first time I confronted Madame Zhuang. She was stunned and instinctively raised her hand to hit me, but seeing the crowd around, she suddenly wailed and sat down on the ground. What kind of life is this? The new bride just entered the door and already curses her mother-in-law. Fellow villagers, please help me settle this. My son risked his life to save a thankless wretch. At my age, to be scolded by a little girl, I have no face to live. She suddenly rammed her head into my abdomen, making my insides churn violently. In my previous life, Madame Zhuang was bedridden, and whenever the water was too cold or too hot and she wasn't pleased, she would splash it all over me. But I'm not putting up with her anymore. I slammed my knee hard into Madame Zhuang's nose, and she immediately let go of me, clutching her bleeding nose and wailing in pain. Just as Zhuang Dongliang walked in, he happened to see this scene and came over, slapping me to the ground with a single blow. Uneducated wretch, how dare you hit your mother-in-law? May you be struck by lightning. I spat a mouthful of bloody saliva in his face. Zhuang Dongliang, don't you dare live in your fool's paradise. I'd rather die an old maid than ever marry you. You're ruining my reputation. I'll sue you for harassment. Mrs. Zhuang wiped the blood from her nose, her eyes filled with malice. Fine, Li Hemiao, you asked for this. How dare you refuse my goodwill? Today, I'll show everyone what a tramp you really are. Fellow villagers, I used to think Li Hemiao was too embarrassed to tell the truth. In fact, the day my son saved Li Hemiao, she had just been fooling around with some random man in the wild fields. She only slipped into the river because she was too weak from being used. Li Hemiao is nothing but a filthy slut and a worn-out shoe. Like a bolt from the blue, the sudden buzz of gossip engulfed me. No matter the era, chastity has always been the deadliest weapon to attack women. A single rumor can destroy me, yet I have no way to prove my innocence in this life and the last. The Zhuang mother and son have sought my death. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, my eyes fixed on Zhuang Dongliang. In the name of all that's just and true, what exactly happened when I fell into the water? Do you dare to tell everyone the truth? The sisters are all chattering away. Dongliang, is what your mother said true? This is a matter of life and death for a woman. Don't let a moment's spite ruin Li Hemiao's entire life. Zhuang Dongliang flinched under my gaze for a second, but then he gritted his teeth and said, Li Hemiao, you brought this on yourself, but if you're truly repentant, I'm willing to see this through and take in a woman like you. People looked at him with a mix of sympathy and admiration. Zhuang's mother curled her lip in disdain. Everyone, eat up soon, help us carry the dowry, and please help me keep an eye on Li Hemiao, this shameless woman, so she doesn't start fooling around when my son is away. Zhuang Dongliang came over and grabbed my wrist. Li Hemiao, I'm willing to give you one more chance to turn your life around. At that very moment, the quiet crunch of tires rolling over gravel broke the silence. A beam of headlights illuminated my small courtyard. I let out a cold laugh. But you won't get the chance. 5. An army green truck pulled up in front of my house, and several sharp-looking female soldiers jumped out. Stepping out of the passenger seat was Guzi, the 13-year-old kid from our village. Sis Hemiao, I didn't hold you up, did I? I shoved a big handful of candy into his hand and gave him a thumbs up. Talk about perfect timing. The few female soldiers quickly recognized me. Comrade, it's so good to see you're safe. The villagers were confused, but Zhuang Dongliang turned pale and muttered to himself, no, it can't be, how could she possibly know? He hurried over, trying to pull me aside. Hey, Hemiao, I agree to our marriage, I want to marry you, let's get married right now. Before I could say anything, a female soldier had already pushed him away. Hey, mister, how dare you touch a lady like that? Huh, is that you? Isn't the person we saved that day the one we handed over to you? Amidst the sisters' confusion, I revealed the truth. The one who saved me was never Zhuang Dongliang, but a group of passing female soldiers, and this truth was only discovered after my death. Back then, while preparing the feast, I had Ergo deliver a letter for me, relying on memories from my past life. In the letter, I explained my situation and hoped they could come to help me clarify the truth. The barracks were in town, and the female soldiers set off immediately upon hearing the news, just in time. That day, we were on a mission and happened to rescue Comrade Li Hemiao, but since we were on duty, we couldn't delay. It so happened that this male comrade passed by and claimed to be from the same village as Comrade Li Hemiao, so we handed him over to him. Another uproar ensued, so it was the female soldiers who saved Hemiao. Zhuang Dongliang, how dare you claim it was you who saved her? Zhuang Dongliang stammered, and his mother quickly stepped in front of the crowd. Even if these girls fished her out of the water, without my Dongliang giving her mouth-to-mouth, Li Hemiao would have suffocated for sure. You all saw with your own eyes that my son saved Hemiao. The villagers were again puzzled, as when they rushed over hearing Zhuang Dongliang shouting for help, they indeed saw Zhuang Dongliang saving me. A female soldier frowned in confusion. That's not right. We already helped Comrade Hemiao expel the water she inhaled when we handed her over. There's absolutely no need for mouth-to-mouth. Mother Zhuang shot them a glance. What do you little girls know? My son is a university student. The female soldiers immediately produced their identification. We may not be college students, but we are medics. We've saved lives on the battlefield. Do you think we can't tell if someone is drowning? I stared at Zhuang Dongliang, who didn't dare to look up. Zhuang Dongliang, it was the female soldier who saved me. You lied and claimed to be my savior. Even took the opportunity to take advantage of me, ruined my reputation in front of everyone. You're using your kindness as leverage to make me marry you. What exactly are you up to? Madame Zhuang quickly shielded Zhuang Dongliang behind her, still trying to speak despite her stiff neck, but was interrupted by a female soldier. I knew I wasn't wrong. It was her who pushed her. The female soldier grabbed Zhuang's mother's wrist. That day, I saw Comrade Li Hemiao being pushed into the river from the car. It was you. That's the outfit you were wearing that day. This time, it was Zhuang's mother who was scared. She covered her face and shrank back into the crowd. It wasn't me. You're talking nonsense. You're slandering an innocent person. I'm going to report you to your superiors. She expected the female soldiers to be afraid, but to her surprise, they agreed without hesitation. Fine, let's go. We'll go with you to the police station and sort this out. At that moment, someone from the crowd of villagers stepped forward. On the day the rice seedlings fell into the water, I definitely saw Sister Zhuang in the vicinity. It really is this outfit. I remember too, when Zhuang Dongliang called everyone over, Aunt Zhuang was wearing this outfit. How could the female soldier be so certain it was this outfit if she hadn't seen it herself? The truth is out. From the beginning, my drowning was a setup by Zhuang's mother and son. It was all to make me owe a debt of gratitude for saving a life. I slapped Zhuang Dongliang hard across the face. You shameless scoundrel. 6. The outraged sisters all rushed forward, while Zhuang's mother shielded Zhuang Dongliang and fled in panic, still managing to throw out a harsh threat. You ungrateful wretch, it's your fortune to be allowed in this door. you'll regret it to your core when my son rises to greatness. Without my tuition, let's see how Xuan Dongliang will ever soar. The next morning, I packed my bags and arrived at the village entrance. In my previous life, I wasted my entire life at the Zhuang household, constantly being scolded for being a freeloader. Although I never had much formal education, I always managed to find work to support myself before the accident. In my previous life, my dowry was used to support Xuan Dongliang. Now, I want to use it to open a small shop. Yesterday, the female soldiers heard about my idea and praised me for being bold and proactive. They even promised to ask their superiors to pick me up on their way to the county today. While waiting for the bus, I unexpectedly ran into the Zhuang family and Sun Yuling, who was sitting on the back of Xuan Dongliang's bicycle. The three of them looked at me with hidden agendas. Zhuang's mother somehow managed to borrow the tuition fee, deliberately taking it out and putting it back into the packed bag in my presence. Some people, they thought they were indispensable. Watch this, my son, such a pillar of the community, always has helping him wherever he goes, uneducated rotten egg dares to aspire to my son. Why don't you take a good look at yourself in the mirror? See if you're even worthy. Now you regret it and come back with your luggage. Too late. Sun Yuling deliberately wrapped her arms around Xuan Dongliang's waist from behind the car seat, leaning forward to look at me, her eyes and brows as arrogant as in her previous life. So you're Li Hemiao, the Hemiao that grows in the dirt. Your parents must be illiterate. How else could they give you a name like that? In my past life, the day after I married Xuan Dongliang, Sun Yuling came to our door to pick him up for school. When Sun Yuling saw me, she looked at me the way a young mistress from the old society would look at a servant girl. You're Li Hemiao, the one who keeps clinging to Zhuang, aren't you? Your cheeks have that Highland flush. Didn't Xuan Dongliang get you some snow cream when he bought some for me? She, like now, wore the most fashionable indeed, her single braid glossy and black, while I was still stained with the ash from cooking early in the morning, my head wrapped in the blue scarf Zhuang's mother gave me. I, like an ugly duckling seeing a swan for the first time. Her voice grew timid and small. Of course I knew about the vanishing cream. Xuan Dongliang said his hands were chapped from the cold in the winter classroom, so I walked 40 li just to bring it to him. Before the words could leave my mouth, Xuan Dongliang emerged and cut me off. What could you possibly have to talk about with a housewife like her? What would she even understand? Playing the lute to a cow. Get on the bike. Sun Yuling skillfully hopped onto the back of the bicycle, while Xuan Dongliang stuffed the lunchbox I had carefully prepared before dawn into Sun Yuling's hands. It has your favorite fried eggs with sugar sprinkled on them. Their openness made my anger seem petty. For the next 40 years, they used the excuse of being old classmates and close friends to repeatedly trample on my dignity. Just as I was about to retort, a group of village sisters chattered behind me, each carrying their luggage, all of them persuaded by me yesterday to venture to the city together. Everyone heard Sun Yuling's words and stepped forward to defend me. You may have read books. Too bad you've read them into a dog's stomach. Didn't your parents teach you how to speak like a decent human being? Oh my, look at how tightly she's clinging to that man's waist. Don't worry. Decent people don't fight dogs for their food. Sun Yuling's face turned bright red with anger. You're rude. You're just jealous of me and Dongliang having a bright future. Unlike you, who are destined to dig in the dirt for the rest of your lives. I cut her off right there. The chairman himself taught us that all revolutionary work is equally honorable. The laboring masses are the most glorious of all. Are you questioning the chairman's words? Sun Yuling was left speechless and trembling. You got dumped by Dongliang. You're just bitter about it. At your age, all you can think about is love. How can the country achieve prosperity with people like you? As soon as this was said, the sisters started chattering again. How dare you throw mud at others? My cousin works at the department store counter. She saw you two holding hands while shopping with her own eyes. My second uncle saw you too when he was showing an open-air movie at the county high school. The two of you were huddled off to the side, whispering in each other's ears. Oh my, I'm almost too embarrassed to say it. Back then, Auntie Zhuang was telling everyone in the village that our Hemiao was her Zhuang family's future daughter-in-law. So what does that make you? Homewrecker, you should be ashamed of yourself. Sun Yuling frantically tugged at Xuan Dongliang's sleeve. Dongliang, say something. Xuan Dongliang propped up the bike and pulled me aside. Hemiao, have you also lived a lifetime? 7. His eyes were filled with urgency, waiting for a positive response. Unless I've lived another life. How could Li Hemiao, who was once played like a puppet in his hands, suddenly change so drastically? I stared into those anxious eyes, a smirk playing on my lips. Zhuang Dongliang, have you lost your mind? What do you mean, lived a lifetime? Stop talking nonsense, we have no relationship whatsoever, keep your hands to yourself. I wrenched my wrist free from Zhuang Dongliang's grip. My miserable past life was Zhuang Dongliang's masterpiece. I will never let him look at me in this life with that same smug satisfaction. I want him to know that Li Hemiao at the age of 19 looks down on him. Zhuang Dongliang. From the bottom of her heart, Zhuang Dongliang looked hurt upon receiving the answer, but soon he let out a cold snort. So be it, Li Hemiao, you deserve to never have the fortune of being a high official's wife in this lifetime. From now on, I'll take the broad road, and you'll cross your narrow bridge. We're even, Li Hemiao, mark my words, I'm only going to get better and better. He was convinced that with the experience from his past life, he was destined for even greater success and prosperity in this one. But how can we possibly be even? He still owes me from a past life. As Zhuang Dongliang was about to ride off with Sun Yuling, I grabbed the handlebars of his bike. Li Hemiao, even if you regret it now, there's no way I could ever. I cut off his shameless tirade. Give me back the car. I bought that bicycle for Zhuang Dongliang in the first place. It's not just the bike, I want everything of mine back. Give it back. No way. Zhuang's mother immediately shoved me. You were the one who insisted on sticking it to my husband back then. How dare you ask for it back after giving it away? I yanked the car right up front, and Sun Yuling in the back seat was thrown out. You didn't feel ashamed taking my things. How is it shameful for me to take back my own stuff? Sisters, follow me to the Zhuang house. Let's take back what's ours to build up our shop's capital. With that, I shoved Zhuang Dongliang aside, hopped on my bike first, and rammed right through the Zhuang family's gate. The other sisters got to work. Some hauled out the sewing machine, others grabbed towels and soap, and a few went to the kitchen for rice, flour, and cooking oil. Seeing her home being looted, Mrs. Zhuang let out a shriek and rushed to stop them, only to end up getting her face scratched to ribbons by one of the sisters-in-law in the scuffle. Last time, it was you who incited my mother-in-law to pick on me, wasn't it? You old fool, you just can't keep your mouth shut. Sun Yuling was already pale with fear, trembling behind Zhuang Dongliang. Zhuang Dongliang initially tried to reason with them, saying a good man doesn't fight with women, but after being called a heartless scoundrel and a scoundrel by the sisters and getting punched a few times, he scrambled to fetch the village head. Village chief, these women are trying to cut off our village's path to a bright future. Smashing up my home is like smashing society's future. Old Mrs. Zhuang, wailing with her face in her hands, her face streaked with tears and snot, pointed at me and spat out, "That damned little slut, just because my son didn't want her, she's held a grudge and brought people here to kill an old woman like me. My life doesn't matter, but my son is a future college student, he's destined to be a high official. Village chief, you must give us justice." Zhuang Dongliang glared at me, grinding his teeth. Li Hemiao, you ignorant fool, stealing is a crime, you'll go to jail, don't you understand? And you too, you'll all be sharing a cell with her. Zhuang Dongliang is smug and self-satisfied. Li Hemiao, I have no more ties with you. Today, you either kneel and apologize to us, or you'll be waiting in jail. I wasn't as timid as he had expected. It's only right to repay debts. I'm taking my own things. Zhuang's mother spat and jumped up. Nonsense, you say it's yours, so it's yours. What evidence do you have? If it's in my house, it's mine. Meanwhile, Sun Yuling also regained her confidence, speaking in a high-pitched voice. No one is above the law. We're going to report this to the police right now. Li Hemiao, it'll be too late for you to claim ignorance of the law and play the shrew then. The village chief, a cigarette tucked behind his ear, also frowned at me. Hemiao, can you prove these things are yours? If you can't prove it, then inciting a riot is absolutely against the law. I said coldly, absolutely. 8. When I pulled out a stack of IOUs from my jacket, Zhuang Dongliang's face turned ashen. I knew you didn't throw them away. Li Hemiao, you approached me just to benefit from my future prospects, so the cat's out of the bag. Huh, Zhuang Dongliang, to save face in front of me, would always casually toss me an IOU after hinting at wanting something from me. Not just anyone is worthy of taking our Zhuang family's IOUs. When I make it big in the future, these IOUs will double in value and buy your entire life. I always discard the IOUs immediately after receiving them. To save Zhuang Dongliang's face, what's the point of owing anything? I would quietly retrieve them afterwards. Not because I had any grand ambitions for my future, it was because, in my past life, I foolishly believed that buying me for a lifetime was a rare and precious declaration of love. I treasured these IOUs like love letters, keeping them safe in a cabinet at home. Now, looking at the IOUs he wrote with his own hand, Zhuang Dongliang had no choice but to accept them, no matter how furious he was. Mother Zhuang was about to throw another tantrum, but I shut her down with a single line. What, even an educated person like you is trying to weasel out of a debt? That successfully silenced her. The commotion from my sisters helping me move my things stirred up the whole village, drawing a huge crowd that gathered in multiple layers, watching us clear out the place as swiftly as a flowing stream. Many onlookers were left stunned, so, all of the Zhuang family's belongings were actually provided by Hemiao. Meanwhile, Sun Yuling, looking puzzled, tugged at Zhuang Dongliang's arm. Dongliang, what on earth is going on here? Didn't you say your ancestors were wealthy, until the death of Zhuang's mother in her previous life? Sun Yuling only learned that the Zhuang family had always relied on her dowry, but by then, Zhuang Dongliang had achieved success, and the couple no longer faced survival pressures. But now, seeing the poverty-stricken Zhuang family, Sun Yuling clearly couldn't accept it. No matter how Zhuang Dongliang explained that he would definitely pass the university entrance exam and become a high-ranking official in the future, Sun Yuling still refused to believe it. As the two were grappling with each other, the tense standoff was shattered by the voices of several men. Yuling, didn't you say the Zhuang family was loaded? They're this poor. How are we supposed to get the money for your brother's bride price? Sun Yuling's face instantly went deathly pale upon seeing the arrivals. Dad, what are you doing here? When we were moving the stuff earlier, I had already sent a friend to the neighboring village to fetch Sun Yuling's father. Sun Yuling, who carried herself like a swan in front of others, was slapped across the face by her father. Worthless girl. All you do is paint your face all day, talking about how many promising young men there are at the high school. In the end, you're messing around with a penniless bum. I'll beat you to death, you good for nothing. Sun Yuling was being dragged out by her hair by her father, and Zhuang Dongliang, who tried to stop them, was knocked down with a few punches by people from the neighboring village. Not a single cent, and you still want to marry a wife? You even went to school. Zhuang Dongliang's face was bruised and purple. He glared at me with bloodshot eyes, staring at the house that had been reduced to bare walls. Li Hemiao, you blind fool of a woman, one day, I'll make you kneel and beg me. I just coldly looked at him, pointing at Zhuang Dongliang's brand new army green pants. Take off your pants. These pants are made from fabric I bought and sewed myself. Even if I take them back to cut, burn, or throw them away, I would never leave them for a beast. Zhuang Dongliang's face was red as if it were smoking, not sure if it was from anger or embarrassment. Li Hemiao, you're asking a strange man to undress in broad daylight. What utter shamelessness. Your mind is full of filth. A hooligan like you deserves to be arrested and shot. He probably forgot his own past misdeeds when he said that 9 love between a man and a woman is meant to be enduring. But in my past life, every time I wanted to get close to Zhuang Dongliang, I would be scolded to my face. Do you know how hard it is for the country to cultivate a college student? Do you know how precious my experience is? My energy is to be devoted to the construction of our motherland, not to the rotting flesh of a housewife like you. He scolded me with righteous indignation, as if I were a hideous rat exposed under the bright daylight right there in front of my own corpse. The 60-year-old Zhuang Dongliang was toiling away on top of Li Lingyu, sweating profusely. One moment he was nibbling at her peaks and calling her darling, the next she was throwing her head back and crying out big brother. Their constantly shifting positions and repeated shudders are still vivid in my mind, utterly nauseating. Staring at the brazen man before me, I suppressed my disgust and let out a cold sneer. Stop throwing around execution this and execution that. Do you own the police department or something? You didn't even have the decency to feel ashamed when you said all your classmates had army green pants and demanded I make you a pair. So I'm the scoundrel for wanting my own things back. I raised my voice loud enough for every single villager present to hear me clearly. Zhuang Dongliang, you look down on me with one breath, yet try to take advantage of me with the next. A hypocrite who bites the hand that feeds him. That's what's truly shameless. After several confrontations, Zhuang Dongliang's reputation in the village had plummeted, and now everyone gathered around, jeering and mocking him. Zhuang Dongliang, so it was you who had the nerve to ask for things. You always claimed to be an intellectual. So, intellectuals ask girls for green military pants, huh? Amid the crowd's laughter, Zhuang Dongliang's face turned as red as a pig's liver, and in a fit of embarrassment, He actually took off his pants and shoes, revealing a patchwork of red and green long underwear. Zhuang Dongliang angrily threw his pants and rubber shoes at me, stubbornly declaring, "Who would want a pair of worn-out shoes like yours? Li Hemiao, let me tell you, you're just the bare minimum in my choice of spouse. While I am destined to be a peak you can never match." I ignored his desperate shouting and left with a disdainful chuckle. I opened a small shop near the county high school, shipping goods from the south to the north. On the day of the opening, Zhuang's mother came to cause trouble, calling me a parasite of socialism, until the police officer told her, "Auntie, the country has already reformed and opened up. It encourages individual business. If you cause trouble here, we'll have to take you away." Zhuang's mother left with a huff, her hips swaying. "Unruly thing, flaunting yourself on the streets. Let's see which man dares to take you. By then, you won't be able to cling to my son," crying and begging. Once my son gets into university, while Mrs. Zhuang was still lost in her dreams, a police car roared up to the school. Following the police was Mr. Sun, who started yelling at the top of his lungs as soon as he got out of the car, "You got my daughter pregnant, Zhuang Dongliang. Today, I'm going to catch you, you scoundrel." In a previous life, it was also around this time that Sun Yuzhen got pregnant. During that period, Zhuang Dongliang kept coming home to sleep with me. He used my money to buy the Sun family's silence, which kept the whole affair from blowing up. Now that the money's gone, the Sun family certainly won't let it slide. I looked at Zhuang's mother with a smirk. Well, looks like your precious son will have to take his college entrance exams from behind bars." As my sisters and I munched on sunflower seeds, Zhuang Dongliang was pushed into a car with his hands tied behind his back, his mother wailing behind him, "It's that slut Sun Yuling who seduced my son. My son was going to take the college entrance exam." Sun's father kicked Zhuang's mother in the head. "Old whore, shut up." The village mother-in-law lay on the ground, covering her head, her face showing pain as she looked in my direction. Hemao, I feel dizzy. "Good child, come over quickly and help your aunt up." Looks like the stroke from my past life decided to pay an early visit this time around. Listening to Mrs. Zhuang's pleas, I felt nothing inside. I just spat out the sunflower seed shell from my lips. "You will all pay for my daughter's life." 10. To everyone's surprise, Zhuang Dongliang was released again, and even ended up marrying Sun Yuling. Because of Sun Yuling's health issues, she couldn't have an abortion, and the Sun family didn't want to add 2 more mouths to feed, but the Sun family insisted on receiving 50 taels of silver as betrothal gifts, or else they would send Zhuang Dongliang to prison even if it meant killing Sun Yuzhen. Zhuang's mother lay paralyzed on the, surrounded by filth, while Zhuang Dongliang frantically borrowed money from everywhere, only to be blocked by creditors at his doorstep. It turned out that Zhuang's mother had mortgaged the house to raise tuition fees for Zhuang Dongliang to save face. "I lent you money because I believed you'd get into university, but the news about you getting that girl pregnant at school has already spread everywhere. The school expelled you. If we don't take the house now, we'll be stuck with a bad debt." With the Zhang family and the creditors hounding him like his life depended on it, Zhuang Dongliang was so stressed he broke out in cold sores. He even had the nerve to ask me for a loan. "My shop's doing great business. I don't have time for his troubles." He squatted by the door, waiting for me to close the shop, watching me count the bills one by one, and Zhuang Dongliang couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes. He wondered why he hadn't had this kind of ambition in his previous life. "But I've always had it. It's just that the stinky stones on the path are gone." "Hey, he meow, for old time's sake, pull me up, will you? Look at all that money you've got. I'd only need half of it." The money in my Yang's hand. "It's true, I do have money, but why on earth should I lend it to you?" Zhuang Dongliang's breath reeked of the foul stench of internal heat. Not a trace of the scholar's handsome bearing remained. He looked like a gambler at the end of his rope. "Like this, Hemao, as long as you agree to lend me the money, I'll marry you." "You don't know, but I do. As long as I solve this urgent problem, I really will get into university. I'm going to walk the path to success in the future. I can swear to heaven." He actually knelt down in front of me, raising 3 fingers to the sky. A sudden thunderclap broke the cloudless sky. I let out a cold laugh as I watched Zhuang Dongliang, nearly scared out of his wits. "See, the heavens can't stand the guilt of your misdeeds." I slapped his face with money. "Zhuang Dongliang, stop dreaming. There's no university, no high position, only a pregnant woman and an old mother bedridden." "Zhuang Dongliang, this is your fate." As I spared him and left, behind me was the bitter cry of Zhuang Dongliang. Zhuang Dongliang still married Sun Yuling, The house was seized by creditors. He sold all the land passed down from his ancestors, and the family of 3 ended up homeless, forced to live in a half-collapsed house in the village. Zhuang Dongliang couldn't carry heavy loads and initially couldn't bring himself to beg, but as he watched his mother on the brink of starvation, he was driven out by Sun Yuzhen's desperate pleas to beg for food when he arrived at my shop. Zhuang Dongliang's face bore the weariness of life's hardships. With a slightly ingratiating smile, he tried to tidy his dirty clothes. "Bossly, I heard from the villagers that you've opened a new branch. Look, I'm not doing anything anyway, and I'm good at math and accounting. I can manage the books for you. Pay me whatever you think is fair. And that house in your village, it's empty and no one lives there. I'll have my mother and wife go and look after it for you. Maybe you never went to school and can't do the math, but these books are far too important to trust to just anyone. All the girls I started out with are now living the high life. Get lost, you filthy beggar. Don't make us late for night school." I never once looked Zhuang Dongliang in the eye before I left. The next I heard of Zhuang Dongliang, he had gone mad. During a marital spat, Zhuang Dongliang stabbed his wife to death. He even ripped out the unborn child and hacked it to a bloody pulp. He slit his own mother's throat too, and as he cut his own throat, he was muttering something about wanting a do-over. "Oh, and what about starting over and marrying you again? Hey, meow, how can a perfectly fine person just go crazy?" Watching the villagers smacking their lips, I shook my head and chuckled. "Today is the grand opening of my new shop. Everyone, eat and drink well. Don't mention those unlucky things." The clinking of wine glasses filled the air, and I wondered if Zhuang Dongliang would ever get another chance. All I know is that for the rest of my life, I will live each day to the fullest and find my happiness. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more thrilling. After Jiang Yan's beloved White Moonlight was in a car accident, he insisted on bringing her home to care for her. I wasn't making a fuss. I agreed without hesitation. He looked genuinely moved and said, "Our relationship is purely innocent. I just want to ensure she has food, clothing, and care for the rest of her life. Please, don't read too much into it." I didn't dare think about it at all. I just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. You see, in 7 days, I would die from overwork. On the day of the funeral, he went and married his White Moonlight. I'm dying. The moment I was reborn, this truth consumed my every rational thought. So when Jiang Yan flew into a rage again, demanding to bring his White Moonlight back to live with us, I didn't put up a fight. Agreed, hurry up and pick them up. In the context of life, everything else is trivial. At 55. What else is there to not let go of now? All I want is to survive. Jiang Yan was stunned. With a look of disbelief, he recovered himself and spoke in an awkward, wooden tone. "Xiaomei is crippled now. I'm the only one she can rely on. There's no other way." I gave a perfunctory nod, pulled out my medical insurance card from my bag. "Let's go, you're coming with me." He widened his eyes, as if he didn't recognize me. Just half an hour ago, I was acting like a shrew, refusing to budge no matter what. I can't be bothered with the small talk. I'm out of here. On the way to the hospital, Jiang Yan remained expressionless and completely silent, but through the rearview mirror, seeing him repeatedly rubbing his palms together, I knew he was deeply agitated. It was that indescribable joy of a hard-fought struggle finally paying off, a dream coming true. After 35 years of marriage, I knew the meaning behind every small gesture he made. I chuckled to myself, drove into the hospital, and rushed straight to the emergency room. After getting out of the car, Jiang Yan grabbed my arm and said urgently, "You're going the wrong way. Xiaomei is in the inpatient department." I scoffed and shook him off. "You go pick her up yourself. I feel like I'm dying and want to get checked out. I'm not that magnanimous to personally drive his White Moonlight home. I only came to the hospital for a full checkup." Jiang Yan looked me up and down, scolding angrily, "You just fainted from the shock, that's all. You came to in 2 minutes. There's nothing wrong with you. I thought you genuinely accepted Xiaomei. I never imagined you'd curse yourself just to make me feel guilty." I shook my head. "You're overthinking it. Don't worry, I won't stand in your way." In my past life, I objected vehemently, but it was futile. I've already been through the death experience. It's time to suppress the emotional mind and make the most correct choice in this life. I've decided to fulfill them. I spent the whole day in the hospital, getting various scans. Finally, the doctor concluded, "Apart from slightly high blood pressure, there's nothing wrong. As you get older, make sure to get plenty of rest." I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that it wasn't cancer. I'm just worried that there might be some underlying condition that could trigger other illnesses. By the time I left the hospital and got home, it was pitch dark outside. As soon as I opened the door, I heard laughter inside. The laughter stopped abruptly when they saw me. My daughter Jianglan stood up from the sofa, looking a bit upset. "Mom, where have you been? You knew Aunt May was coming to stay, yet you didn't even prepare the room." I took a deep breath, forcing myself not to slap her. The little cotton-padded jacket I carried for 10 months turned against me for another woman. All that suffering in vain. Seeing I didn't respond, Qiao Mei's smile was bitter as she wheeled herself over. "Sister Zhou, I'm the one causing you trouble. I'll leave now." Jiang Yan's face instantly darkened. He pointed at me and yelled, "Qiao Mei has nowhere else to turn. Can't you show a little compassion? Are you trying to drive her to her death?" My expression turned grim. On our wedding anniversary, Jiang Yan and I had plans to go out for dinner, but he broke his promise just because Qiao Mei returned from abroad and wanted to see him. However, she unexpectedly got into a car accident on the way and ended up needing an amputation. Jiang Yan felt deeply guilty, believing that he was the one who caused the tragedy. By sheer coincidence, Qiao Mei had swapped seats with him before getting on the vehicle, and that ended up saving his life. Jiang Yan began trying to persuade me, wanting to bring her into our home so I could wait on her. "But why on earth should I? She's not my savior. Why on earth should I be her maid?" When I disagreed, Jiang Yan gave me the cold shoulder. Today, we had another fierce argument over this, and I was so furious I fainted. When I woke up again, I found I had been reborn. He knows not only what will happen 7 days from now, but also every detail of what occurred before the burial. Fine, I'll leave. Is that good enough? To have lived most of my life, only to end up having to make room for someone else. How pathetic. Walking into the bedroom, he found his clothes thrown on the floor, exactly as he'd expected. Quickly stuffed things into the suitcase. When I stood up, the vibrant jasmine on the bedside table and the crisp new sheets made my heart ache like it was being clawed by a cat. Jiang Yan always claims to have low emotional intelligence, not being cunning or romantic, yet he remembered that Qiao Mei loved Jasmine the most. Some people aren't incapable, they're just heartless. What's with the attitude now? If you leave, who's going to take care of Qiao Mei? Jiang Yan grabbed me, refusing to let me leave. "Mom, Dad and I both have to work. You're the only one at home with nothing to do, just idling around all day. You can cook at home and keep Aunt May company for a chat." Words come easily. My daughter looks at me as if I were a petulant child. In my past life, I gave in. I took on the responsibility of caring for Qiao Mei, and it ended in a miserable death. Now, I just want to live a relaxed life. Since you love each other so much, take care of each other yourselves. She then took out a divorce agreement from her bag and threw it in Jiang Yan's face. "Sign this, and you can take care of each other in bed if you want. No one's stopping your love." Jiang Yan's face turned dark in an instant. Clenching his anger, he bent down to pick up the paper from the ground, only to be shocked. "You're crazy." "Not crazy, just want to survive." Sudden death was caused by their Qiao Mei, at her age, is still acting all coy and demanding, wanting everything. She complains to everyone, both openly and secretly, accusing me of mistreating her and not feeding her. Jiang Yan called me an ungrateful wretch. He said, "If it weren't for Qiao Mei saving me, you might have become a widow. Can you show a bit of conscience?" "I have no heart. My conscience has been eaten by a dog, so hurry up and get a divorce." Marriage is easy, but divorce is harder than Tang Sanzang's pilgrimage to the West. The negotiation failed. I'm not discouraged. I'll just stay at a hotel. I'll never be anyone's servant. First, just survive, live a long, long life. When I finally woke up around noon, the hotel front desk called to say I had visitors. Unsurprisingly, it was the father and daughter. Jiang Yan was a key technical expert at the factory. After retirement, he was rehired to continue contributing to society. His daughter also has a job and is constantly swamped with work. Whenever I ask them to accompany me to the hospital, they always say they don't have time. They also tell me that even though I'm old, I should keep up with the times, strive to be like the younger generation, learn what I need to, and not always trouble others. What a miracle that we both called in sick today. My daughter saw me fuming. "Mom, at your age, running away from home, aren't you afraid of being laughed at?" "Go ahead and laugh. Who cares? It's time to break free from the shackles of societal expectations and live life on your own terms." I sat comfortably and lazily on the sofa, feeling a bit hungry. The waiter brought in the meal and set the dishes on the table. My daughter's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, you're actually willing to splurge on something this nice?" I ignored her and kept my head down, focusing on my meal. Today, I ordered a lot of delicacies I had always craved but couldn't bring myself to spend money on, like Australian lobster. In the past, whenever my daughter and her father wanted something or craved a certain food, no matter how expensive, we would grit our teeth and buy it for them when it's my turn. I always remind myself not to be greedy with food or desires. I always habitually myself. The father and daughter took it for granted, and now I feel it wasn't worth it. Now that my cravings are satisfied, my happiness index is soaring. No more penny pinching. Spend what you need to spend. I've seen it before. People die with money in the bank, filled with nothing but regret. Showing. It's just about looking after Chame a little. It's such a small thing. At our age, there's no need to make such an ugly scene. Jiang Yan's implication was that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I scoffed. Either get a divorce or send Chame away. Choose one. Still trying to manipulate me. Dream on, you fool. Jiang Yan doesn't smoke, drink, or engage in domestic violence. He's the model husband and father in the neighbor's eyes. Little do they know he never lifts a finger at home, acting like a lord of the manor every day. Every time you need him to do something, it takes endless pleading and sweet talking, and even then, he just drags his feet. He always mops with one hand, never dries the water stains on the sink, and always leaves things unfinished. When I yelled at him out of frustration, rumors spread that I had a bad temper. He took all the good reputation, while all the blame fell on me. I slaved away my whole life, thinking I could endure it, just treating him as a co-parent, and in the end, you hit me with a sucker punch. If I can't take it anymore, then I won't. Let's just call it quits. Don't push your luck. Jiang Yan's shouting was so loud it made my ears ache. I frowned. Look, our daughter is grown and doesn't need our care anymore. We don't have many years left. Wouldn't it be better to spend the rest of our lives the way we want to? When I was young, I lived according to my parents' wishes. In adulthood, they are swept along into marriage after having children. Even if the relationship is hollow, they turn a blind eye and strive to maintain appearances. Social conventions and prejudices act like an invisible dagger, corralling many into a rigid framework. They live by the book, confining themselves within the inertia of their own thinking. If I could live again, I would break free from the shackles that bind me and truly live my life. Mom, if you get divorced, where will I put my face? People will laugh themselves to death. I immediately retorted, what's your face worth? Don't take yourself too seriously. Why should we care about others' opinions and ourselves while living? I realized this truth far too late. Fortunately, it's not too late to set things right. After filling my stomach, I took a cup of tea and sat down opposite Jiang Yan. He remained silent. All I could do was try to reason with him, so I began to plead earnestly. After we divorce, you'll be free to do whatever you want, even be with Chame. Jiang Yan straightened up slightly, his index finger pressing tightly against his thumb. I could tell he was tempted. Keep up the encouragement. For example, you're always saying you want to climb Mount Tai. Chame certainly won't stop you. With his aching joints, he still wants to act like a young man and refuses to accept his age. Let him go and get himself hurt. It's best to avoid doing things where your kindness is thrown back in your face. I took the agreement out of my bag. Sign it. I've got plenty of these in my bag. I printed 20 copies, always ready to regain my freedom. The house is yours, the cash is mine. Neither of us is taking advantage. Jiang Yan stared at me blankly. It seemed he finally realized I wasn't acting, but genuinely wanted a divorce. He hesitated instead. Dad, Aunt May is here. Just then, the door suddenly swung open. Looking at the two people in the doorway, my heart was a whirl of emotions. Just now, my daughter answered a phone call and I thought she had left for something important, but it turned out she went to pick someone up. My daughter is very close to Chame. It's because Jiang Yan secretly takes her to meet Chame every year without telling me. Before long, she opened up to them completely and started treating them like her own mother. After 35 years of raising you, I get no credit, only blame. To say I'm not heartbroken would be a lie. Moreover, she was fully aware of Chame's true identity. Brother Jiang, it's all my fault for causing trouble in your family. Chame looked at the agreement on the table with guilt. You should just send me back to America. After my husband and son passed away, my daughter-in-law disappeared with the child, leaving me with no one to rely on. Should I return to America and beg for a living? What a clever move to retreat in order to advance. Dad, you promised to take care of Aunt May. The daughter is getting anxious, turned around and yelled at me. Mom, why can't you accept Aunt May, who is such a good person? You're so cruel. I was so furious that my whole body trembled, and I slapped her across the face. Since you care so much, then take care of her, support her, and treat her like your own mother. Recalling all the past events felt like gnawing pain in my bones. During that time when I was taking care of Chame, she repeatedly and deliberately dropped cups on the floor, cut her hand, burned holes in the bedsheets, and other inhumane acts for in the end, they still claim it's me who's resentful, that I'm the one slamming things around, breaking stuff, and tormenting her. Yet the father and daughter were blind to the truth, believing every word she said. I'm not just physically exhausted, I'm mentally shattered, on the verge of suffocation. You want a divorce, and now you're pushing our daughter away too. Jiang Yan looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. I responded with icy indifference, I want neither of you anymore. The father and daughter froze for a moment. Emotional control completely collapsed. Jiang Yan finally signed the document. As I walked out the door with all my luggage, I felt the air was free. My daughter grabbed my hand, her expression panicked. Mom, please leave me some money. I remained expressionless. Adults should be self-reliant. If you want money, go ask your dad. Not only did she choose to be with Jiang Yan, but she also vowed to take care of Qiamei in her old age, treating her like a real mother. My heart isn't made of iron after all. It hurts too. Why give money if you're not appreciated? I'm not a masochist. Only after safely spending 7 days in a 5-star hotel did I truly relax. Leaving toxic people behind is indeed the best way to stay alive. In the following days, I rented houses everywhere. After the Lantern Festival, I found a 2-bedroom apartment. It was move-in ready, close to the school, and in a good school district. On the first day of the new semester, I went into the school to teach my students. I'm a university professor, and I retired not too long ago. The university had offered to rehire me to continue teaching, but I turned it down at the time. Coming back now is just to kill time. Actually, staying home alone doing nothing will rust your brain. Scrolling through your phone every day will only make you feel emptier because you can't find a sense of purpose. Boredom can be like a harvester, draining everyone's vitality. On my way home after class, I ran into an acquaintance, Xiao Wei. Seeing me, she excitedly rushed over. Aunt Zhou. Her voice cracked from excitement. Xiao Wei was once a student I sponsored. It all started when she posted on Xiaohonghong, saying both her parents had passed away, and due to financial hardship, her brother and sister-in-law had no choice but to send her out to work. However, she was a good student and longed to continue her education, but she didn't know what to do. After investigating, I found that her situation was indeed true, so I started supporting her from middle school until she finished high school. Aunt Zhou, I'm going to get something, wait for me for a moment, he said and ran off like a gust of wind. When she returned, she was carrying a nylon bag on her back. She ran until she was sweating profusely, her face flushed red. These are special local products from my hometown. I originally planned to deliver them to your house. She handed it over a bit shyly. I took it, opened it, glanced inside, and smiled. I absolutely love your cured meat and dried vegetables. Her eyes suddenly lit up, like the brightest star in the galaxy, dazzling and radiant. Xiao Wei picked up the bag to help carry it home, but after I refused, she seemed a bit disappointed, but soon she perked up again. Aunt Zhou, I'll head out first, see you tomorrow. After running a few steps, she turned back and waved at me, her footsteps light and lively like a cute little rabbit. I shook my head with a smile, carrying the heavy load back home. Stepping out of the elevator, I found Jiang Lan pacing impatiently at the door. After stepping inside, she glanced at the nylon bag in the corner and pursed her lips in disapproval. Students these days don't even know to bring something worthwhile. I didn't want to argue with her, so I just started putting away the cured meats and other items. Jiang Lan didn't move, just sat on the sofa, her face etched with exhaustion. Dad's sick, and Aunt May has no one to take care of her, since it's the weekend. Mom, can you go back and help me for 2 days? She didn't follow my intention at all. It was an order. I laughed in anger. I can't understand how she could say that. No way. He called early this morning saying he missed me. Turns out he just wanted me to go back and be a free nanny. Jiang Lan suddenly stood up. Mom, I have to take care of Dad and do laundry and cooking for Aunt May. I'm really tired. Can't you feel sorry for me? Dismiss me when I was taking care of them at home. Why didn't anyone care about me? Live-in nannies charge tens of thousands of yuan a month. I've given decades to this family, yet who remembers my contributions? I heard Jiang Yan quit his job to take care of Qiamei full-time at home. Back then, I asked why they didn't hire a nanny, and Jiang Lan rolled her eyes. What sincerity is there in hiring someone with money? I never had this kind of treatment before. When I was sick, I lay in bed alone with no one to take care of me. That father and daughter still think I'm some kind of superhero with self-healing powers. Don't come to me with anything related to Qiamei in the future. I have no connection with her whatsoever. Jiang Lan left in defeat, but not before delivering a parting shot. Don't come begging for my help when you get sick. I didn't say a word. Truth be told, I'd long since given up on this. daughter of mine. I didn't make a point of telling people about my divorce. People noticed I was always alone, and when a colleague got curious, I mentioned it offhand. The news spread throughout the entire school in no time, and opinions were divided. Some said that getting divorced at my age, they wondered what path lay ahead for me. Some admire my courage and agree with me. I don't care whether they sympathize or gloat. No one knows whether tomorrow or an accident will come first. Let's just enjoy the present and deal with the future when it comes. Despite the gossip, Xiaowei still frequently appears in front of me. After learning about my divorce, she would even drop by from time to help me clean and keep me company. Everyone said she was trying to curry favor with me, hoping to get something out of it. I just laughed it off when I heard that. I have been supporting Xiaowei for 6 years. She unhesitatingly chose the school where I taught when she was filling out her college entrance exam application. When we first met, she was teary-eyed and said excitedly, "Aunt Zhou, I can't repay you now. I just want to be close to you." She's a strong-willed girl. She refused my financial support for college and instead applied for a national student loan. She's actually very busy. She had no spare time and had been tutoring outside of school to earn some living expenses. Now she works as a photographer for others. It's said that her work has gained a lot of positive feedback online and she has many fans, making her a bit of an internet celebrity. I admire and respect her. From a rural area to being admitted to a top-tier university in a major city, it wasn't just her unyielding perseverance but also her never-give-up spirit that got her there. Time flies, and soon it's graduation season. I was wondering how to spend my summer vacation. Unexpectedly, Xiaowei invited me to travel together. I frowned immediately upon hearing that. She seemed to know my concerns, teasingly whispered in my ear, "Aunt Zhou, I have money. I promised you when I was little that I'd take you on a trip." When I was little, she would always call me using her sister-in-law's broken phone, and she promised me so many things. I didn't take it seriously, but it seems she always kept it in her heart. I agreed with Xiaowei that our first stop would be Yunnan. The night before we left, Jianglan suddenly came to find me. She hesitated and said, "Mom, Haozi said he wants to get married. What should we do about this?" "Make your own decision, just don't regret it." After my daughter got divorced, she went back to her ex-boyfriend despite my objections. Haozi is a good-for-nothing layabout with no proper job, a real loser. But Jianglan, of all people, is a hopeless romantic. A few sweet words from someone, and she's ready to give them her whole heart. I intervened once before, arranging a marriage with a suitable match from a good family, so she could have a grand, respectable wedding. Unfortunately, she couldn't forget her first love and lost her marriage. I don't want to deal with it at all. Whatever happens, happens. Only after being hurt, bleeding, and hitting her head against the wall might she finally wake up. Jianglan was stunned, finding it hard to accept, blankly asked, "Mom, you used to advise me, why not now?" I took a sip of water and didn't answer. Instead, I gave the boot. "If there's nothing else, you can leave." What's left to say about a topic that's been nagged about for years? Even if she's not annoyed, I'm already fed up. Jiang Lan's face suddenly darkened, a cold sneer curling at the corner of her lips. "Aunt May was right about you. You just don't want me to be happy. You don't want me to marry the one I love. Well, I'm going to marry him anyway." I clutched my chest, feeling as if I couldn't breathe. "Go, just go. Don't come back anymore. I'll pretend I never gave birth to you. If you're a thankless wretch, then cut ties. Without me, who will you rely on when you're old? I'm your only family." That arrogant expression made my heart ache even more. "Get out." After they left, my heart was still pounding uncomfortably fast. With trembling hands, I dialed 120 for an ambulance, and then called Xiaowei. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, but thankfully, it was a close call with no serious harm. Xiaowei was leaning over my bedside, sobbing uncontrollably. She said, "Auntie Zhou, please let me move in with you. I'm just too worried to leave you alone." My heart ached, yet it was also deeply touched. This whole incident taught me a lesson. Everyone says raising children ensures support in old age, but if the children are unfilial, they are not here to repay kindness but to seek revenge. I spent half a month recovering before I went to Yunnan with Xiaowei. She took photos for me, enjoyed various local delicacies, experienced the local lifestyle, and met many travel enthusiasts. Every day is filled with excitement. Xiaowei saw my joy and came running over with the camera, grinning from ear to ear. "Aunt Zhou, why don't we continue to the next city? Look, we've gained more followers again. The fans are asking me to take more photos of you. They really enjoy watching them." I looked at the comments section, feeling a mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. Ever since Xiaowei shared the story of how we met online, everyone has been calling me Zhou the Good. They say it was me who lifted her up. giving her a bigger stage and a new life everyone is thanking me for. My kindness. If it was me who pulled Xiaowei out of the mud, the person she should thank most is herself. If it weren't for the awards plastered all over the mud wall, or the deep longing in her eyes, I probably wouldn't have sponsored her. After all, money doesn't grow on trees. If you give, you should expect something in return. Although I never wanted anything from her, my original intention was simply to add another female voice to society. Let's go to Wuzhen next. I've wanted to go to this place for a long time, but unfortunately, no one is available to accompany me. Xiao smiled and nodded. I thought about it and asked her, you really don't need to pay. To my shame, I haven't spent a single cent so far. After Xiaowei shared her story and pictures, it instantly went viral online. Businesses were clamoring to sponsor ads, eager to cash in on the traffic. Money flows in daily, so you never have to worry about running out. Relax and enjoy yourself. Not only will I cover all your expenses, but I'll also share the profits with you. Xiaowei affectionately hugged my arm, laughing freely. The bright sunlight bathed her face, making her exceptionally beautiful. She's a completely different person compared to the timid girl she was 10 years ago. I sighed inwardly and shook my head with a smile. No need to split the money. I have a pension, savings, and I'm not short of money. Just as I was having too much fun outside to want to return, my ex-husband called. He sounded a bit displeased. Your daughter is getting married, you should come back for the wedding. I refused without a second thought. 2 weeks ago, Jiang Lan called me asking for money. She didn't mince words. Mom, I need at least 300,000 for the wedding. I hung up the phone right away. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. For my first marriage, I gave 400,000, and now for the second marriage, you still want to take advantage. I never heard a word of concern from her after my divorce. She only takes but never gives. No one will indulge such a selfish person. Even if she is my daughter. I traveled around with Xiaowei and didn't go back to teaching. This is the best of times, having fun every day, uploading photos and videos online, and throwing in some ads. Money comes rolling in. Unlike the past, when we worked diligently and saved bit by bit, the dividends of the internet not only sustain us but also introduce me to people from all walks of life. I've also experienced many projects I've never tried before, but most importantly, it broadened my horizons. As the new year approached, I finally made it home. The next day, my ex-husband showed up at my door. He looked me up and down, his face a mix of emotions. You're not just doing better without me, but your life is also quite vibrant. I smiled but said nothing. After Jiang Lan's antics landed me in the hospital, I immediately blocked both her and her father on everything. Once they figured it out, they had to borrow other people's phones to call me. Jiang Yan has definitely come across my stuff online. I mean, I'm a bit of a micro-celebrity now. Plenty of friends and family know about it. I leaned against the doorframe and told him to cut to the chase. Jiang Yan had changed a great deal. He was hunched over, as if carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. His clothes hung loosely on his gaunt frame, as thin as a rake. He looks a full 10 years older, a world away from his former self. It seems he's been having a very hard time. Your daughter is ill, you should go and see her. I don't want to go. Even after half a year, I still can't forget the agony of being on the brink of death. I collapsed on the sofa gasping for breath, yet she turned a blind eye. Whether she is well or not now, it no longer concerns me. I refuse to go, but Jiang Yan is determined to pick a fight with me. He just wouldn't leave. I was at my wit's end, so I had to go to the hospital. Jiang Lan saw me, and the tears just started streaming down my face. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing the bruised skin beneath. Mom, Hauzi is a monster. Apart from her face, which was untouched, her body was covered in horrific injuries. He didn't just abuse me at home, he also gambled and swindled me out of all my money. I have nothing left. As she spoke, she broke down into heart-wrenching sobs. Mom, I really regret it. If I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been pinned down and beaten. After hearing her sob story, I remained silent. Jiang Yan had previously told me the whole story. After getting married, the couple enjoyed a sweet and harmonious period, but the good times didn't last. One day, debt collectors showed up at the door, saying Hauzi owed a lot of money. Hauzi's gambling problem was exposed. When Jiang Lan confronted him, he tried to sweet-talk and placate her at first. Later, he simply dropped the act, showed his true colors, and started hitting her whenever he was displeased. The relationship between the two grew increasingly tense, and their fights became more and more vicious. I let out a cold, scornful laugh upon hearing it. A person can pretend for a while, but they can't keep up the act forever. Now that they had successfully deceived and won the person over, they felt invincible and dropped the pretense completely. Jianglan could have avoided the pitfalls. Unfortunately, she didn't listen to my advice. And this is where she ended up. I don't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for her. Instead, I want to shout, serves her right. Once Jianglan had calmed down, I didn't mince words and got straight to the point with my advice. You should get a divorce. She stared at me blankly, hesitating. Mom, I'm pregnant. Just get rid of it. A clean break is better than a lingering pain. A child born into a family like this would never be happy. A useless mother, a gambling father, a broken home. It's starting life on the hardest difficulty. Just the thought of it makes my skin crawl. I want to keep this child. Hearing that, I stopped trying to persuade her. I knew she wasn't ready to accept it. She couldn't accept that her final choice was wrong, and she still hoped to use their child to reach a man with no heart. While most men in this world are selfish by nature, bound by morality, they at least have a bottom line. Counting on a gambler to reform is nothing short of a fantasy. At the door, I bumped into Jiang Yan pushing Qiaomei, and Qiaomei's eyes flashed with displeasure when she saw me. She smiled insincerely. Jiang Lan is far too willful. What married woman visits her mother's house every single day? Sister Zhou, you really must talk some sense into her. I ignored her and turned to glare at my ex-husband. Your daughter was beaten like this. Why didn't you call the police? Jiang Yan stammered. She wouldn't settle down and live properly, always making a scene and disturbing the whole household. Qiaomei said family shame shouldn't be aired in public. We couldn't call the police. I looked at the father and daughter, at a loss for words. If I hadn't kept this under wraps, Jiang Lan's reputation would have been ruined by now. She took 200,000 from brother Jiang, spent her days hanging out with Haozi, neither of them worked, living off their savings, and only started causing trouble when the money ran out. How old is she now? Still relying on her parents. No matter how much money the family has, it won't be enough for her to squander. Qiaomei spoke sarcastically, her face full of disdain. Jianglan exploded after hearing that. She leapt out of bed and started screaming. Why shouldn't my father's money go to me? You do nothing all day. All you have to do is spread your legs, put on a fake sob, and my father showers you with cash. What kind of trash are you? Anyway, I was utterly dumbstruck. They were once as close as mother and daughter, but now they're at each other's throats like mortal enemies. It's only been half a year, but the developments in people and events have exceeded my expectations. Qiaomei was so angry she almost fainted. With tears in her eyes and her head tilted at a 45-degree angle, she cried out, "Ly, brother Jiang." The lingering echo was so enchanting that it made people's hearts melt. Jiang Lan pointed at her nose and scolded, "At your age, you still make such disgusting noises. If you love acting so much, why not join the entertainment industry and star in a drama where the falls for his stepmother? That would be quite a show." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present fell silent. Jiang Lan's bizarre remark made the atmosphere unbearably awkward. Jiang Yan hastily led everyone to evacuate. I didn't leave. I wanted to watch the drama unfold, so I asked Jiang Lan what had been going on lately and why she was at each other's throats with Qiaomei. She sighed and began to explain the reason. It turned out that, unable to get money from me, Jiang Lan had gone to pester her ex-husband. Jiang Yan had planned to sell his 4-bedroom apartment, buy a 2-bedroom one instead, and give her half of the leftover money. Qiaomei stepped forward, absolutely refusing. They said that a daughter who constantly takes money from her parents' home, with her character, won't be relied on for support in the future. Jiang Yan listened and didn't insist further. In the end, they barely managed to gather 200,000 for the dowry. The bride's family had no money, and the groom's side was even poorer, penniless, to be exact. The wedding was a shabby affair, and it became the subject of hushed gossip for a long time. Mom, every time I go back home, she gives me the cold shoulder and is constantly whispering in Dad's ear, poisoning him against me. Jiang Lan started crying again as she spoke, her words coming out in choked sobs. They say a stepmother means a stepfather too, and they're absolutely right about that. I must have been blind to treat her like my own mother. I sighed. Every effect has a cause. It's not someone else's fault. I didn't say anything more, just told her to rest and recover. She couldn't bear the thought of ending the pregnancy, yet she couldn't stand on her own 2 feet. No one could help her. After resting at home for a day, I had planned to go out and buy some New Year's goods, but I never made it. Jiang Lan arrived. The moment she stepped inside, she fell to her knees before me, wailing and howling. "Mom, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please, you have to help me." No sooner had the words left my mouth than I heard footsteps behind me. I looked up and saw my so-called good son In-law, Howsy. He wore a cheeky, ingratiating smile. Mom, you look younger every day. Jianlan saw him cowering fearfully behind me, sobbing. Mom, he tied me up and tortured me. Married couples, right? Quarrels in the bedroom, makeup in the bedroom, am I right, Mom? That shameless, unrepentant look just makes me furious. I really don't want to deal with these messy affairs if we don't settle this today. Nobody's getting any peace. Without another word, I pulled out my phone and called the police. Howsy panicked. Mom, we were just fooling around. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anyway. The police station is downstairs, which was one of the reasons I bought this place. It ensures personal safety. Brother had arrived quickly, heard the whole story, and took the person away, asking us to go make a statement later. I turned to Jianlan and said, if you don't want to stay with him, go to the hospital to get checked, get an appraisal report, and gather all the evidence, then file an appeal. She almost fainted from crying. Divorce, I've had enough. Her disheveled hair clung to her bruised face, making her look utterly wretched. Mom, I'm sorry, it was so stupid of me. I shouldn't have divorced Qin Shun. Her hand was tightly clasped, and regret threatened to overwhelm her. I pulled my hand back, looking at her broken fingers, not wanting to say a word. Qin Shun was the son-in-law I had carefully chosen, and he had once been my student. He was good-looking, a college graduate, came from a good family, and knew how to conduct himself appropriately. After catching Jianlan cheating, he didn't make a scene. Instead, he knelt before me and said with self-reproach, Professor, I'm sorry, I can't give your daughter the happiness she deserves. When we divorced, Jianlan wanted to split the assets, but I stopped her. As the party at fault, how could she have the nerve to claim what belongs to others? I was single-minded in my desire to find a family of equal social standing for my daughter. This way, not only are their family backgrounds and educational levels similar, but their core values also align, allowing their small family to thrive in the long run. Unfortunately, Jianlan failed to appreciate it. Her marriage, where she married down, did not bring the happiness she imagined. Instead, it backfired, leaving her utterly scarred. But all of this was exactly what she deserved. I recommended a highly competent divorce lawyer to Jianlan. I didn't get involved in what happened next. By the time everything was settled, a month had passed. Hao was sentenced to a year of sewing machine work for abuse. After this incident, Jianlan has completely woken up and has no plans to remarry. She wanted to move in with me, but I refused. I haven't lost my memory. Those hurts are still in my mind, never forgotten. 2 days before New Year's Eve, Xiaowei suddenly arrived, along with her brother, sister-in-law, and their 5-year-old twin sons. They arrived with a pile of gifts. Xiaowei smiled cheerfully. Aunt Zhou, we're spending this new year at your place, and next year at ours. That way, it'll be lively with more people. You wouldn't turn us away, would you? The 5 of them had long faces, each pretending to be pitiful. I am more than willing and deeply touched on this special day of reunion. They came a long way just for me. They made me truly believe that human nature is inherently good. On the 29th, we went shopping in a grand procession. Upon arriving at the women's clothing section of the big mall, we found people arguing. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be my ex-husband's family of 3. Xiaomei looked a bit disheveled at the moment. The wheelchair was tipped over, and she had fallen to the ground, yet no one came to help. This was because Jiang Yan and his daughter were arguing. After listening for a while, it became clear that Xiaomei wanted to buy a 5,000 yuan coat. Jianlan refused. She jumped up, pointing at Xiaomei on the ground, and said, do you have any shame? How dare a little flower like you wear such an expensive dress? Jiang Yan's face turned red, and he remained silent under the weight of everyone's pointed stares. Xiaomei buried her face in her chest in mortification. I didn't go over to say hello, deciding instead to find another shop to buy clothes. But Jianlan, with her sharp eyes, grabbed my arm and pulled me back. Seething with indignation, she said, Mom, you've never even worn clothes this expensive. What right does she have to wear them? I just smiled. My ex-husband was actually quite stingy. Even without Jianlan stopping him, he wouldn't have agreed to spend that much money on a piece of clothing otherwise. Why would he just stand there, letting his daughter run wild, willing to lose face rather than say a word? No matter how deeply affectionate a man is, he will eventually grow tired of a woman after a long time. Just like loving apples, eating them every day, you occasionally want to try something different. Moreover, at an age where one needs constant care, even the best first love will inevitably be shattered by reality. I went into a clothing store, tried on some clothes, and picked out a few that I liked. As they went to pay, Jianlan pushed forward. Mom, let me get this. Seeing the total on the bill, Her words caught in her throat. She stammered, "Mom, you really don't hold back, do you? Well, when it's for yourself, you shouldn't pinch pennies now. Even a single piece of clothing costs me tens of thousands of yuan. Moreover, I'm now wealthy." Xiaowei returned the money I had sponsored for 6 years and even shared quite a bit of dividends with me. When I scanned the code to pay, the shopkeeper smiled and waved, saying, "Your little girl has already paid." Xiaowei looked at me with pitiful eyes and nuzzled against me. "I've wanted Aunt Zhou to be my mom for a long time. Could you give me a chance to prove myself?" The brother and sister-in-law standing beside us nodded repeatedly, insisting that their family would be the ones marrying up. The twin toddlers suddenly clung to my legs, looking up at me with their adorable little faces. "All the other kids have a grandma. I want one too." Tears streamed down my face. I laughed through my tears. Jiang Yan and the others watched the scene, their expressions a complex mix of emotions. "Compared to life itself, everything else is trivial," Jiang Lan called out weakly. "Mom." I ignored her and instead took Xiaowei's hand, my gaze gentle. "Whatever you want, sweetheart, I'll buy it for you." "Wow, I'm so happy. From now on, I have a mom who cares for me too." Shrieks of excitement pierced the sky. They swarmed around me into another store, all clamoring to pay for me. I shed my old clothes like casting off the past, donning splendid new garments to welcome a new chapter in this life. I have hit the reset button. Happiness blossoms into a beautiful flower within my heart, and my journey into the future is just beginning. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video. Story 2. In my youth, I met someone who took my breath away at first sight. He was the dazzling son of a shareholder, and I was a poor student at school. On Lin Shen's birthday, he lost his sneakers. Everyone was convinced I was the thief. Even Lin Shen looked at me with contempt. "Didn't your mother teach you not to take what isn't yours?" But he didn't know. I really don't have a mother. My father was invited to the school and subjected to a barrage of humiliation. I was forced to drop out of school. Later, I heard this high and mighty young Master Lin had been looking for me for 11 years. Everyone thought I had stolen Lin Shen's sneakers. They rummaged through my backpack. They even pried open the locker. "You've gone too far." Xiao Yu pulled a gift box from my locker. Still making excuses. Whose sneakers are these if not Lin Shen's? Thief, how disgusting. Even Lin Shen was looking at me with utter disgust. They were all convinced that the things inside were Lin Shen's sneakers. That's not. Xiao Yu has already opened the gift box. Inside is a niche wallet among Lin Shen's dazzling array of gifts. It looks so shabby. "Oh, is this the gift you prepared for Lin Shen?" Then, everyone burst out laughing. They looked at me as if I were a joke. "No, it's not." Xiao Yu, however, seemed to have caught me off guard. He held the birthday card in his hand and read it aloud. "To classmate Lin Shen, happy birthday. It's just a small gift. I hope you don't mind it. Ha 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 ha." Xiao Yu burst into laughter. Lin Shen's face grew darker and darker. The look in his eyes when he glanced at me grew increasingly disgusted. "Tang Xian, how dare you give this worthless trash to Lin Shen? This scrap of cloth isn't even fit to polish his shoes. It's so pathetic. Why even bother giving a gift?" They had no idea this wallet was something I saved up from my living expenses for a long time. Lin Shen held the wallet, as if looking at a joke like no other. He calmly walked up to me. "You throw it, or shall I?" I snatched the wallet and took a couple of steps. With a determined heart, I still threw it into the trash along with the torn greeting card. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lin Shen constantly wiping his right hand that had held the wallet. I was hoping to make a quick exit from this whole mess, but Lin Shen called me back. "Tang Xian, where are my sneakers? I really didn't take them." His gaze suddenly darkened, his eyes filled with displeasure. "Didn't your mother teach you that you shouldn't take what doesn't belong to you?" For a moment, my eyes welled up with tears. They don't know that I truly don't have a mother, but I really didn't take that thing. She's acting wrong for stealing. Shinge, don't take it personally. She's truly one of those who had a mother but was never raised properly. No one ever taught her manners since she was young. Lin Shen's cousin looked at me haughtily. That gaze felt very similar to Lin Shen's. "Selling those shoes alone would have kept you and your father fed for 3 years. If it wasn't you, then who else could it have been? You've turned the place upside down, looked in every corner you shouldn't have. Why won't you just believe me?" Lin Shen directed the others as they carried the gifts outside. On the final trip, he accidentally bumped right into me. I thought he would say sorry, but his words were, "How much can you trust what a poor student says?" Only then did I realize he wasn't careless. He deliberately bumped into me. They didn't show up for the afternoon class. The hallway was noisy and chaotic. The people in front kept glancing at me. I was writing notes with my head down when I heard my father's voice outside. Yes, I'm sorry, Dad. I put down my pen and ran out the back door. In the hallway, several of them had my dad surrounded. Xiao Yu, in particular, deliberately tripped him, yet my dad just smiled and apologized to them. Dad, Lin Shen's cousin held on to me tightly, not letting me pass. Xiao Yu's boxed lunch fell to the ground. It was brought by my dad, and it even has my favorite, sweet and sour pork. Xiao Yu crouched down, feigning remorse. Oh, uncle, I'm so sorry, it was so clumsy of me. And no, it's fine. So, uncle, how's the food? Is it good? Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Xiao Yu smirked mischievously. If it's so good, why aren't you eating any? My dad looked up, and Lin Shen was also watching the scene with amusement. The classmates around us were all cheering with feigned enthusiasm. Uncle, you wouldn't dislike it, would you? Uncle, we're all Tang Xian's classmates. We've never seen anyone eat boxed meals before. Uncle, you wouldn't refuse to give us this little face, would you? Under their relentless words, my dad chuckled and reached down to grab the food from the ground. Laughing while eating, Lin Shen even managed to step on the food, but I knew he did it on purpose. My dad scooped up the mud-streaked rice and put it in his mouth. I was sobbing uncontrollably, and the arm being held was starting to bruise. Lin Shen, I'm going to tell the director. Lin Shen was slightly taken aback, and the others burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Don't you know that Shen is the chairman's son? I know, but I don't believe they'd cover for Lin Shen. This is a provincial key university. After all, I helped my dad to his feet. He reluctantly stuffed the last 2 pieces of gobera into his mouth. He smiled at me. It's okay, grain isn't dirty when it falls on the ground. Dad, they arrived at the dean's office. Lin Shen sat down in the director's chair without a second thought. He crossed his legs and started playing a game. The director cheerfully draped a blanket over Lin Shen, but when his gaze shifted to my father and me, his eyes were filled with an indescribable coldness. Tang Xian apologized to Lin Shen. Dean, you haven't even heard our side of the story. Why should I apologize? The dean said sternly. Don't forget, you're a student from a poor background, admitted under special circumstances. If you want to stay in this school, you will apologize to Lin Shen. Dean, he's the one who falsely accused me of stealing and bullied my father. The director's voice suddenly rose. Isn't what I said clear enough? I need to keep talking, but my father grabbed my arm. Apologize. We apologize. Dad, why should we apologize? They're the ones who should apologize. Lin Shen's cousin sneered, arms crossed. First, you need to understand, this school belongs to the Lin family. With just one word from my cousin, you can forget about continuing your education here. Zhang Qian glanced up and down at me. People like you, who managed to get a special admission spot despite being so poor, should learn to keep a low profile. But I'm not wrong, I said firmly. Lin Shen was gaming and glanced at me briefly. The mistake you made is having a useless father. Smack. I rushed over and slapped Lin Shen across the face. He was stunned by the blow. The entire office was left in a state of shock. Tang Xian, do you have any idea what you're doing? Tang Xian, have you lost your mind? Zhang Qian was about to hit me, but my father pulled me behind him. That slap landed squarely on my father's face. You were raised by wolves, weren't you? Is this how you were brought up? Dad, my father held my hand down, shaking his head repeatedly. Lin Shen also rose from his seat. The director was panicking, looking at me helplessly. You, kneel down and apologize to Lin Shen. I was trembling with anger, but my dad was smiling obsequiously. I'll kneel. I grabbed my dad's arm, trying to pull him up. Dad, I'm not going back to school. Don't talk nonsense. I looked helplessly at Lin Shen, but he remained unmoved. I knew it. Even when I knelt down to apologize, he tacitly accepted it. My father has a limp. When he knelt, he toppled over in a comical way. Everyone laughed heartily, rubbing his leg. My father looked up and forced a smile. Uncle, your head doesn't even make a sound when you knock it. Didn't you just finish eating? Dad turned back, looking at me with tears in his eyes. He shook his head at me in a scolding manner, then he steeled himself. The sound of kowtowing grew louder and louder. Crack, the floor shattered, and sharp fragments of stone pierced father's forehead. His forehead flushed crimson, and blood began to seep out. Yet, in Lin Shen's presence, my father still wore an ingratiating smile. Young Master Lin, it was my Tang Xian who was in the wrong. Only then did Lin Shen lift his eyelids slightly. The look he gave me seemed to say, see, it was your fault. You're right. it was my fault. I never should have gotten involved with Lin Shen in the first place. I should have just stayed far away from him. I shouldn't have busted my brains trying to get into class 1. As I helped my dad out, he could barely stand on his own. I helped my dad sit down on the steps outside the teaching building. We used half a pack of tissues to wipe the blood. It's okay, just focus on studying hard and reading well in the future. My daughter is the best triple good student of the year. There's still some guabao roll left at home. Let's eat it tonight. I nodded with a trembling voice. Okay. As I helped my dad continue walking, a noisy crowd was ahead. Shingu, those sneakers. Xiaoyu glanced at me. He didn't finish his sentence. I wasn't interested in knowing. That night when we got back, my dad had a fever. I carried my dad to several hospitals. Only one hospital was willing to admit him, but we faced an exorbitant surgery fee. In that moment, it felt like the sky had fallen. The next day, I went to the school to withdraw. I worked 2 jobs to pay for my father's treatment. The doctor said my father had a brain tumor. The severe impact caused his condition to deteriorate. I worked for 3 years, enduring it even with frostbitten hands, but my father couldn't hold on any longer. That year, I lost my father forever. When I saw Lin Shen again, it was at a gathering 8 years later. It was originally a company banquet, but at the banquet, I saw Lin Shen and Zhang Qian. The boss was still fawning over Lin Shen, clinking glasses with him. Lin Shen's gaze seemed to linger on me, subtle yet unmistakable. My colleagues nearby were also whispering among themselves. I heard those 2 are the main investors for our carry project. Didn't expect them to be so young. The boss is putting so much weight on the carry project. If we don't secure it today, we're all in for it when we get back. Not only that, but whoever can seal the deal this time gets a 30% commission. I always feel uncomfortable here, thinking about those years with Lin Shen. I feel nothing but disgust. But just when you thought they wouldn't, they brought it up again. I didn't expect Li's company to hire someone with such low qualifications. That person didn't even finish college, did they? Zhang Qian's voice was soft, but everyone over there heard it clearly. All of them turned around and looked at me. Mr. Zhang is right. She was quite outstanding in college, but unfortunately, her family, I know, after all, she was our college classmate along with Lin Shen and me. Everyone looked at me with envy. I felt that 30% commission was definitely mine. Little did they know, Lin Shen and I despise each other. Really, Tang Xian, you never mentioned it. Come on, come toast President Lin. A colleague nearby chimed in, urging her on with an envious look. Go on, Tang Xian, don't miss this golden opportunity. Go for it. Seriously, if we land this project, we'll be set for life. Even the boss's secretary pressed a wine glass into my hand. Tang Xian, they're calling for you. I clutched the glass, but my feet were rooted to the spot. Lin Shen's gaze made me feel very uncomfortable. I placed my wine glass on the table. Excuse me, I need to go to the restroom. Ignoring my boss's expression, I hurried out. I took a 20-minute break in the restroom. I had just composed myself and stepped back outside only to find Lin Shen leaning against the wall out there. His deep, dark eyes seemed to bore right through me. Long time no see. I walked towards the private room, trying to get past Lin Shen. His hand tightly gripped my wrist. I found the sneakers from back then. I looked at him without saying a word. I tried to see through him, the person from 11 years ago. My mistake, I'm sorry. With a bitter smile, I shook off Lin Shen's hand. Mr. Lin still stands as tall as he did back then. All my father got for his head being smashed was an apology. Can't even the 3 words I'm sorry come out of Mr. Lin's mouth. As Lin Shen remained silent, I washed my hands and returned to the private room. As soon as I entered, I was met with the boss's furious scolding. Tang Xian, do you even want to keep your job? Is it really that hard for you to go toast Mr. Lin? Out of all these people, you're the one with some connection to Mr. Lin, so, you're unwilling, huh? Tang Xian, let me tell you this, if the carry project is terminated, you'll be held responsible for the consequences. How dare you storm out on Mr. Lin? Didn't you see his furious face? I had to force a smile just to appease him. And what about you? Who do you think you are, acting so ungrateful? In the private room, the other colleagues didn't even dare to breathe loudly. I calmly sat down. Receiving criticism from the boss, he thought of something and suddenly raised his voice. Don't forget who paid for your father's treatment when he was sick. Creak. The door to the private room swung open. Lin Shen and Zhang Qian walked in just in time to see this scene. If you hadn't saved my father back then, I wouldn't have slaved away for this company for 8 extra years. In all that time, my salary never increased once. Yet I secured over 30 projects for you. The boss's face flushed red. It wasn't because of what I said, but because Lin Shen was watching. He just felt like he'd lost face. That's all. What's going on here, Mr. Lin? You're back. It's nothing. An employee just had a bit too much to drink. Oh, really? After speaking, Lin Shen turned his gaze to me. The boss picked up the conversation. Yes. Then they kept shooting me meaningful looks. The boss shot me a warning glance. The assistant immediately got the hint and came over to warn me. If you want to quit, seal this deal. All past grievances will be forgotten. I was pushed in front of Lin Shen. Mr. Lin, I've been overseeing this project. Let me brief you on the specifics. This project isn't worth my time to delve into. The boss's face instantly darkened, poking me incessantly from behind. I can listen, but I don't want to hear about work. Tell me what you've been up to these past few years. The boss's laughter echoed behind me. Lin Shen glanced at me calmly, as if the outrageous words just now weren't spoken by him. Then Mr. Lin, please sign here. Lin Shen tossed the contract to Zhang Qian. After Zhang Qian reviewed it and found no issues, Lin Shen signed it. Can we talk now? My apologies, Mr. Lin, but that falls outside my responsibilities. Boss, I've just submitted my resignation. Could you please approve it now? The boss could see the tension between me and Lin Shen. He wasn't too keen on letting go of a valuable asset like me. Oh, Tang Xian, let's talk about this later. He was about to grab the contract, but I got to it first. The boss's smile faded. In the end, he approved my resignation. I placed the contract on the table, raised my glass, and said, to your bright futures. Then, I picked up my bag and left. Once outside, Lin Shen hurriedly chased after me from behind. He came running out in a hurry, dressed in a suit. It doesn't match his style at all. Tang Xian. Mr. Lin, just call me by my name. Is there something? That contract. Just now, consider it my apology. When would be convenient for you? I'd like to meet Uncle and apologize to him in person. I clenched my fists. No words were spoken. No, it's okay if it's inconvenient. We can do it later when you have time. If you don't have any plans, you can come work at the Lin Group, he said, handing me a business card. Seeing that I hesitated to reach out, he forcefully pushed it into my hand. The warmth from their fingertips spread into my palm. I gave a distant nod and left. In a hurry, I met someone I loved when I was young. Even after all these years, I still can't forget that feeling. Seeing Lin Shen again, the same feeling from back then still lingers, yet the bitterness in my heart remains impossible to let go. When I got home, I poured a glass of his favorite drink for my dad. Leaning against his photo, tears uncontrollably streamed down my face. Dad, I saw Lin Shen today. Dad, I miss you so much. I leaned against the wall and had a couple of drinks with my dad. After leaving my job, I stayed home almost every day. This house was left to me by my father. Nothing in the furnishings has changed over the years. I have no pursuit of quality of life. If it weren't for the kindness shown to me back then, I probably would have quit the day after my father passed away. After 8 years of persistence, the savings I've accumulated are enough to support me for the rest of my life. I want to take my dad for a trip to the seaside. I had spent a month planning the trip and was just about to set off, but then, I received a call from Zhang Qian. Tang Xian, can you come to Central Hospital? Lin Shen was in a car accident. I understand. It seems like Qiao Yu's voice could be heard on the other end of the phone. Is she coming? I don't know. I'm sitting here, looking at a photo of my dad. I still rode my bike to the hospital. It's not close to the hospital from here, but cycling would be more economical. By the time we reached the hospital, it was the dead of night. The hallway was thick with a heavy, metallic smell. Zhang Qian and Qiao Yu saw me and shot to their feet in an instant. You're here. We thought you weren't coming. We called you, but you didn't pick up. Riding my bike, didn't notice. I also sat down on the bench in the corridor with Zhang Qian. How is he? The situation doesn't look good. We fell silent again. Tang Xian, Lin Shen has been looking for you for 11 years. I was momentarily stunned. Why did you drop out back then? He regretted it. He looked for you. He was frantic. When the school finally said you had withdrawn, he smashed about a dozen panes of glass. He cut his hands and needed 13 stitches. That's how rich kids act when they're angry. All these years, he's been waiting for you. He heard you were at this company, so he came here specifically to see you. Zhang Qian suddenly looked at me cautiously. Are you still angry with Lin Shen? Seeing that I remained silent, Qiao Yu laughed awkwardly. Well, of course not. After all, Tang Xian was completely smitten with Lin Shen back in the day. Back then, I was absolutely crazy about Lin Shen. I was young and foolish back then. I didn't understand the gap between me and President Lin, but now I do. Zhang Qian looked at me in a panic. No, that's not it, you can't think that way either. Then how should I think? Xiao Yu stood up anxiously. We truly did you a great wrong back then, we were young and foolish, I apologize to you, Xiao. You bowed to me solemnly, Tang Xian. I'm sorry, Tang Xian, Lin Shen's father is unconscious from a severe injury, and Lin Shen himself isn't doing well either. You've been his only obsession all these years. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive him, if only out of pity for his wretched state? Didn't you all use my misery as your entertainment back then? The two of them fell into a heavy silence. They all looked down at their own hands. I'll take care of Lin Shen until he's discharged from the hospital. Consider it a promise I'm making to my younger self. With that, I turned and walked into the hospital room. They were left staring at each other in excitement. The moment I entered, I saw Lin Shen looking at me weakly. You're awake. I heard everything you just said. I walked over and placed a pillow behind him. This car accident was intentional. I thought I'd never see you again, Tang Xian. I'm out of the hospital now. Does that mean I won't see you anymore? You'll avoid me, right? I plan to move to a new place to live. Lin Shen remained silent, but those eyes of his were deeply sorrowful. I don't have much to do every day. I just make soup at home and bike it over to Lin Shen. As soon as I arrived at the door, I heard Xiao Yu's words. Stop waiting. It's getting late. If she was coming, she would have been here by now. She said she would come today. She promised me. Look, it's already 11 o'clock. Bro, you should eat. I knocked on the door and pushed it open. Lin Shen was both surprised and delighted to see me. You're here? Yeah. Xiao Yu drew a sharp breath. Sis, don't tell me you rode your bike here again. Yeah, I even took a tumble on the way, so that's why I'm late. Upon closer look, while Lin Shen's table couldn't be called a feast of rare delicacies, the dishes were all quite refined. I gave an awkward smile. I didn't realize you'd already eaten. Lin Shen grabbed the thermos from my phone in one swift motion. Haven't eaten yet, that's theirs. Zhang Qian was about to feed the spoon into Lin Shen's mouth. Seeing this, he turned and fed it to Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu coughed twice. I'll go call the doctor for you. It's nothing, just a scratch. The doctor was still called over, and he cleaned the scrape on my elbow. Shall I have the driver take you tomorrow? No need, it's convenient for me to ride my bike. No trouble necessary. Lin Shen glanced at the bed beside him. Or, you could stay with me. Then I'll trouble the driver. A faint smile played on his lips. Hello, just spray the medicine in our room once in the morning and once in the evening. Oh, it's Sister Tang Xian, Yuzu. Zhang Qian looked at us. Do you two know each other? Yeah, my dad was hospitalized here before. After seeing Yuzi off, I went downstairs and took a couple of laps. When I came back, I saw Zhang Qian pushing Lin Shen while talking to Yuzi. I didn't hear what they were saying until I got closer. Passed away? Yeah, Sister Tongxin's father passed away 8 years ago. Didn't you know? How could it be so sudden? There was a tumor in his brain, and with conservative treatment, he could have lived for another 10 years or so, but Uncle Tang kept suffering severe head injuries. So, Yuzu shook her head and sighed, then was called away by others. Lin Shen looked at me, his eyes filled with deep remorse. Uncle, it's getting late, I should go back now. I fled in panic, unwilling to face that memory. Lin Shen's condition has improved significantly around the second week. When I went to the hospital to deliver soup, I saw Lin Shen's mother. She was draped in a snow-white fur coat. She was holding such a large diamond ring. There's clear disdain in her eyes for me. What is this? My son has never had anything like this in his life. Can he even drink it? Little girl, I know what you're thinking, and I advise you to give up that idea. You two are from completely different worlds, and I will not allow this to happen, Auntie. You're overthinking. I promised to take care of him until he's discharged, and after that, I won't bother him. Who would believe anything you say? I hear you've got my son completely infatuated, using all those seductive tricks. Stay away from my son in the future, or else. She gave me a warning look. People like you will never be worthy to stand by my son. Madam Lin, rest assured, I am well aware of my place. I've heard these words since I was a child. Her look at me wasn't exactly disdain, but it wasn't far off. I'm just telling you, you two come from different worlds. You might be a good kid, but you're not the right choice for Shen. You know I'd only have Shen as my son. I understand. After tomorrow, I won't appear again. Mrs. Lin took a deep breath. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but you're indeed different from them. Just as they were talking, Zhang Qian pushed Shen over. Lin Shen's gaze toward his mother still held a trace of hostility. What are you two talking about? I walked over and took Zhang Qian's place, pushing Lin Shen's wheelchair. Nothing much, Your mom said it was nice to meet me, thanked me for looking after you, and invited me to visit your home more often. Lin Shen looked at his mother in surprise. His mother was also looking at me in surprise. After returning, Lin Shen finished the soup. Lin Shen, you're almost fully recovered, aren't you? Lin Shen flinched, then he pretended to respond calmly. Are you planning to go out and play? Yes, have a great time. When evening came, Lin Shen absolutely refused to let anyone change his bandages. Zhang Qian was frantic with worry. Lin Shen, what are you doing this for? Are you trying to make Tongxin stay with you, or are you trying to punish yourself? Look at this yourself, the wound is infected. Back home. Thank you, driver, you don't need to pick me up tomorrow. Does that mean you won't need me to pick you up anymore? Yes. The driver was taken aback. Has the young master done something to upset you? No, it's not that. Our agreement has come to an end. He's almost fully recovered and doesn't need my care anymore. The driver seemed to want to say more but held his tongue. He then left respectfully. I finished packing my things and took one last look around the house. Here, every place, is a memory finally. I carried a photo of my dad. I went to the airport. I took my dad out for a 2-month trip. Then, I received a call from Mrs. Lin over the phone. She was anxious and restless. Tang Xian, please forgive me for calling you so late and so abruptly. Tang Xian, Auntie was wrong. Tang Xian, can you not hold it against Auntie? Auntie said something harsh. Mrs. Lin, what is wrong? Tang Xian, Lin Shen is in a very bad way. Ever since you left, he's been tormenting himself every day. He talks about atoning for his sins, saying all sorts of strange things. And he hurts himself at night. Tang Xian, I was wrong. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Could you please come back? I accept you now. I sat up in bed. Auntie, there's no real feeling between Lin Shen and me, but you clearly, Auntie, have you ever looked into my past with Lin Shen? Lin Shen is the only person connected to my father, whether for better or worse. I wanted to see him again. Now that I have, I don't hold any resentment towards him, and as for what you said, it didn't really affect me. No, Tang Xian, please, can you do this for Auntie? Lin Shen can't live without you. He loves you more than you realize. Can you give him another chance? After a moment of silence, I continued, Auntie, Lin Shen and I were never meant to be in the same world, we're just not compatible. With that, I hung up the phone. A few days later, Zhang Qian started reaching out to me as well. It was more or less the same story. It was just that Lin Shen was in a bad mood and not doing well. I felt completely out of sorts that day. I received a call from Lin Shen. After the call connected, Lin Shen didn't say a word. I didn't speak either. I held the phone to my ear and listened for 3 minutes. I spoke slowly. Lin Shen. He hung up, staring at the phone. I felt utterly bewildered. I never went back home, and having so much fun nearly drained my savings, so I just found a job here instead. By the time I returned to my home country, roughly 2 years had passed. The facilities at the domestic airport were pretty much the same as before. As I disembarked the plane, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Lin Shen. Lin Shen was dressed in a mature suit. His efficient demeanor couldn't hide the fatigue on his face. You're back. What are you doing here? I wanted to come see you. He is. Lin Shen stared at the little baby in my arms. I smiled. This is my son. Lin Shen's eyes instantly darkened. You got married. Duo. Say hello to your uncle. Cle. Duoduo's speech isn't very fluent, but it's passable. This is my adopted child. Lin Shen genuinely believes the child is mine. He seems to have forgotten. He's been gone for 2 years. How could the child possibly be this old? But if that's what he chooses to believe,